First, he won the Heisman, then he won the national championship, and now he is the overwhelming likely choice to be the #1 overall pick. But does the Ohio native want to be a Cincinnati Bengal? You've probably heard that Burrow made some interesting comments that raised some eyebrows over his desires. He was talking to the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, and he said, quote, "I do have leverage. The Bengals have their process, and I have my process. We haven't even gotten to the NFL Combine yet. There's a lot of things that happen leading up to the draft and a lot of information gathered." Quickly, Dan Graziano, our insider extraordinaire. People will hear that and they will say, that doesn't sound like a guy who's thinking, boy, I can't wait to get to Cincinnati. There'd be nothing wrong with him saying that if that's how he felt.
Yeah, and people are hearing it that way, no doubt about it. We talked about this on Tuesday on this show. So I called some people after I left on Tuesday and tried to get a sense of what's going on. The message I got was, Joe Burrow he's a young man who's going through this for the first time. He's not necessarily expecting all his words to be parsed for meaning. He's not out there trying to send a subtle message about the Bengals. He's just answering questions in an interview. At the same time, he's also working out with Jordan Palmer, brother of Carson and former Bengal, who, we all know about the way it ended with Carson Palmer in Cincinnati. And he's probably hearing some things about the Bengals that aren't very flattering. So the sense I get is that in the end, this is all fine. He's going to be on the Bengals. He's going to love being the first pick in the draft. He's from Ohio. His parents can drive to see his games and all that. But in the meantime, I think there's at least a little bit of something going on behind the scenes that someone or some people are putting in his head about that's not really the place to go and have great success.
So the point that you just made, in case you don't remember, Carson Palmer retired rather than continue playing for the Bengals, and it wasn't until they traded him to the Raiders that he wound up coming back and playing and having a second act. So you obviously covered him all season long, doing College Game Day and everything else. And you were the first person I heard here on our show to say Joe Burrow is better than Tua Tagovailoa. So with all the talk about Tua and all the rest of that, if Tua Tagovailoa were healthy going into this draft, who would you take as the #1 quarterback?
Joe Burrow, and it's not even a discussion. To me, it's not even close. I don't know what the talk is about, those two, even if Tua was healthy. I think Joe Burrow is more of a prototypical NFL quarterback. He processes information very quickly. When you look at Tua, the reason he got hurt, his hip got dislocated because he held the ball too long. When you look at Joe Burrow, it's not just about being accurate, it's about ball placement and the way the things that he learned from Coach Brady, who came over from the Saints, an NFL concept offense. This guy is just ready for the NFL. So I thought early in the season, I thought he was much better than Tua. I would definitely take Joe Burrow over Tua.
I would lean towards that, Dez, as far as being in the college system. But the same conversation we had about Joe Burrow was the conversation about Tua, previous to Joe Burrow. Listen, Joe Burrow is 2 years removed from throwing 16 touchdowns. Obviously, it was a different system, and you put him in a great situation. He had a great performance. If anybody would like to see a quarterback be drafted #1 overall from LSU, it's me. But I know that this narrative would be totally different. You know who else threw for 400 yards in the LSU-Bama game? Tua.
Yeah.
You know who else? So there was this
on one leg.
This injury is the reason why we're talking about Joe Burrow having leverage. You think if Joe Burrow didn't clearly identify that he wanted to be a Cincinnati Bengal without Tua having an injury, that it wouldn't be, oh, well, Tua going to Cincinnati then. Like this is a unique situation for Joe Burrow, where the other guy that could very well have been the #1 overall pick if Joe Burrow would have still had the same type of season, was injured. So now he has the leverage as far as being that one identifiable guy that can go #1.
The reason I think this is worth talking about, and probably all the way through April, is if the Bengals decide that the margin between Burrow and the other two big quarterbacks in this draft is not that wide, there are ways of moving back, still getting one of those quarterbacks, and adding to a team that is bad and needs help in a lot of different places. That seems to me it's on the table unless they feel Burrow is just head and shoulders the best.
Right, and at this point, that's where they are, that it's going to be Burrow. They're locked in there. They want him to be there. But, I mean, you are right. If the Burrow side wanted to muck it up a la Eli Manning in 2004, yes, then that would be the Bengals' course of action. But I don't expect that to happen.
Condon is his agent. Same agent Eli had when they pulled the Jack move.
Correct. I mean, I don't think it is as cut and dried as it is being presented when we get to April, but there's a lot of time between now and then. Meanwhile, the second half of the NBA season, as I mentioned, starts tonight. And let's talk about LeBron James and Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Greek Freak is right now the odds-on favorite to win the MVP award. But don't sleep on LeBron. He is on pace to lead the league in assists for the first time in his career, and he has the Lakers positioned as the #1 seed in the West. You need another reason to bolster his case for MVP. He not only leads the NBA in real plus-minus this season over Giannis, but he's the only player to be over +10. Giannis is nearly 2.5 behind LeBron in this area. I have never in my life, nor would I take anything away from Giannis, but I've been saying it for a long time here. LeBron James is the best player in the world. He still is. And he was put on this earth to be the greatest point guard that ever lived. I've been saying that since he was in Cleveland the first time. And I know you guys are looking at how he is finally doing that.
Can I say something real quick, Rick?
Yeah.
So my sophomore year, I got a chance to play basketball against Gary Payton for USA Basketball. And I was like, oh my God, I'm on the court with Gary Payton. I feel this way right now doing touchscreen with Tim Lake.
Okay,
I just want everybody at home to know that. Okay, all right, we're in
glove,
it. All right,
the glove.
So as the play develops, you're going to see the shot goes up. Now, as the shot goes up, I want you to pay attention to Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He's going to leak out here. He's going to start trying to go for a fast break. And I want you to pay attention to, by the time LeBron catches the ball, you're going to see him here. He's at the bottom of the S. He's at the bottom of the S. Now LeBron catches the ball. Leg, do your thing.
Here's the other thing that noticed right away on this play. You take a look at where LeBron catches the ball. And most guys, when they turn and immediately see a defender that has basically gobbled up all the space, he's got about 5 feet of space as he catches this. Most players, Jay, I think you'd agree with this, as a point guard especially, you're not going to think about making a pass in that situation. You want to put it on the floor to escape the traffic.
Exactly.
But instead, LeBron, really with a flick of the wrist, puts this thing on the air, and look at the distance that it travels. So by the time we catch it, the other end of the floor, basically the ball's going from inside the foul line to inside the opposite foul line with a flick of the wrist with 2 defenders right in front of him.
Now look, when LeBron caught the ball, there was 24 seconds on the shot clock, okay? Look at the distance that he was able to cover in 2 seconds with that pass over the top. That's how quick and efficient. That's why a guy averages 10.8 assists per game. Now, this next play is what I love about LeBron because he's constantly probing. P.J. Tucker, if you're going to play defense with him, your hands are down. Mark Jackson used to say hand down, man down. But when you don't have a hand up, you allow LeBron James to probe the floor to see all 4 offensive players on the court. Greeny, you're going to love this one. As the play develops, now look, Ben McLemore, he turns his head. So this gives him a back cut for Kyle Kuzma. As he gives a back cut, look at that pass. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Look at that. Look at the hand. Look at the precision. He hits the hand right on it and allows Kyle Kuzma to go up for an easy bucket. The precision on that, Legs, is what makes LeBron James so different.
And one more example here, and to me, this is what sets LeBron apart from anybody who's ever played. And I've said this repeatedly. He gets the ball quicker, with more velocity and more accurately to the opposite side of the floor than anybody who's ever played. And again, you take a look at what LeBron is doing right here. And most people think he's looking at his teammates. He's not. He's actually scanning defensively to see what position these guys are in. And one thing I want you to pay attention to, this is a 6'11" player on the opposite side of the floor. And LeBron James is going to throw it over his head with a bullet pass. And he's going to throw it here to the corner. Player starts here, teammate. LeBron James is going to throw this thing on a rope to this corner to lead his player to the opposite side. Nice little back brush screen right here by Kuzma allows it to happen. But to think that he would even dare throw this basketball to the opposite side with a 6'11" center, opposite side of the floor, that extra half a count, Greeny, with the velocity I'm talking about as a shooter on the weak side, what that means is that's a difference between a contested shot for me and an uncontested shot. If you can get it to me a little bit quicker, which LeBron is the best that's ever played.
If this thing didn't cost as much as the microphone, I would drop
the mic.
I would
Absolutely.
drop this thing right now.
And it has made my point. LeBron James is the best point guard in the league. He is finally playing the position he was ideally suited for. Meanwhile, I want to show you by far the best thing we will show you today. And this is Ryan Newman walking out of a hospital yesterday with his daughters. Most of you probably saw the horrendous crash in the Daytona 500 where Newman's car caught fire, and it was a really scary time. There were prayers for him all across the country and all across the world. Yesterday, just a few days later, he walked out of a hospital holding his daughter's hands. There isn't going to be anything better you see in sports today than that. Meanwhile, we will continue in a moment on Get Up. We saw 2 overtime games on Wild Card Weekend this year. What if I told you that's about to get even better? Next.